With just this one sentence, Jimin managed to melt Jungkook's heart to tears. One sentence in the moonlit rain shatters Jungkook's walls and awakens a love buried beneath years of pain. Don't pretend you were never lonely too. The words struck harder than the thunder. Jungkook froze in the middle of the rooftop, rain dripping from his black hair into eyes already sharpened by anger. The city below them glittered in blurred gold and white, traffic lights smeared by the storm into rivers of color. Wind tore across the concrete ledge, snapping at coats and carrying the scent of wet metal. Jimin stood 5 steps away, chest rising fast, soaked through to the skin, one hand pressed against the railing as if it were the only thing keeping him upright. His lips trembled from cold or fear. Jungkook could not tell which. Maybe both. I said leave, Jungkook growled. Jimin shook his head, raindrops flew from his lashes. You've been saying that for years. Jungkook laughed once bitterly. And yet you keep coming back, that's your problem. No, Jimin said softly, it's yours. Lightning ripped the sky open. For a second the world turned silver, and Jungkook saw everything too clearly. The bruise blooming near Jimin's wrist, the exhaustion hollowing his cheeks, the stubborn ache in his eyes that had never once disappeared no matter how cruel Jungkook became. Jungkook hated that look. He hated that Jimin still cared. He hated, more than anything, that some broken part of him cared too. Who did that to your wrist? Jungkook asked before he could stop himself. Jimin instinctively hid the bruise behind his back. It doesn't matter. It matters if they touched you. The silence that followed was louder than thunder. Jimin stared at him as if he had been waiting years to hear those words. Then he smiled sadly, a small fragile curve that hurt more than anger ever could. There you are, he whispered. Jungkook's jaw tightened. Don't do that. Do what? Look at me like I'm still someone worth saving. The rain softened, becoming a whisper over concrete. Jimin took 1 step closer. Maybe I'm not trying to save you. Then what are you trying to do? Remind you that you were never the monster they made you believe you were. Jungkook turned away so fast his shoulder hit the rooftop door. Pain flashed through him, sharp and welcome, better pain than feeling, better bruises than memory. But memory came anyway. A dim apartment with cracked walls, his father's voice like broken glass, his mother shrinking into corners, a teenage Jungkook learning silence as survival, learning that tenderness was bait before punishment, learning that love always arrived carrying fists. Then years later, a university hallway smelling of coffee and paper, where a boy with honey-blonde hair and a laugh too bright for the grey building had bumped into him and spilled books everywhere. Instead of apologizing, the boy had grinned. You look like you need a friend. Jungkook had almost walked away. He often wondered how different his life would be if he had. Behind him, Jimin spoke again. You disappeared for 8 months. I know. You changed your number. I know. You ignored every message. I know. Jimin's voice cracked. Do you know what it did to me? Jungkook closed his eyes. That was the problem. He knew. He knew because every night he had stared at Jimin's unread messages until dawn, thumb hovering over replies he never sent. He knew because he had memorized the sound of Jimin's laugh just to survive the emptiness. He knew because leaving had gutted him too. But danger followed Jungkook like smoke. Debts, men with polished shoes and dead eyes, mistakes made in desperation, secrets that would drag Jimin under if he got too close. Distance was the only mercy Jungkook had left to offer. You should hate me, Jungkook said. I tried. And Jimin let out a broken laugh. I'm terrible at it. The city hummed below them, indifferent and vast. Jungkook felt something in his chest shift, a rusted hinge forced open after years of being jammed shut. Why are you here tonight? He asked quietly. Jimin reached into his coat pocket and pulled out an envelope, now soaked and sagging with rain. He held it out. Jungkook didn't take it. What is that? It was slid under my door this morning. By who? No names. Jimin opened the envelope himself. Inside was a single photograph. He handed it over. Jungkook's blood ran cold. The photo showed Jimin walking home 2 nights ago. A red circle had been drawn around his face. Across the bottom, in black marker, were 3 words. Ask Jungkook why. Jungkook crushed the photograph in his fist. Who else has seen this? No one. You should have gone to the police. Jimin's eyes flashed. And tell them what? That the man who broke my heart apparently comes with stalkers. Jimin. No, he stepped closer until only inches remained between them. No more half-truths, no more disappearing acts, no more pretending your silence protects me. Wind pushed between them like a living thing. Jungkook could smell Jimin's shampoo beneath the rain, could hear the slight hitch in his breathing, could see how hard he was trying not to cry. Jimin had always cried quietly. Even in pain, he tried not to inconvenience anyone. That knowledge alone nearly destroyed Jungkook. I owe dangerous people money, Jungkook said at last. Jimin went still. I took it years ago when my mother got sick. Thought I could pay it back fast. I couldn't, he swallowed. Then they wanted work instead. What kind of work? The kind that stains everything it touches. Jimin's face paled. I left because they noticed you, Jungkook continued. Because one of them smiled when your name came up, because I knew if I stayed they'd use you. And now they're tired of waiting. Rainwater streamed from the roof's edge like tears. Jimin stared at him for a long time. Jungkook braced for disgust, for fear, for the final fracture. Instead, Jimin reached up with trembling fingers and touched the scar near Jungkook's eyebrow, the one no one ever mentioned. The contact was featherlight. Jungkook almost flinched. How many times, Jimin whispered, have you suffered alone and called it love? The question sliced deeper than accusation. Jungkook's throat burned. I'm not worth this, he said. Jimin's hand slid down to his cheek, warm despite the cold. You don't get to decide that for me. Jungkook's vision blurred. He blinked hard, angry at himself. Jimin smiled through tears of his own. There you are again. Stop saying that. Then stop hiding. The first tear escaped before Jungkook could stop it. Hot against freezing skin. Then another. Years of swallowed grief cracked open soundlessly. His shoulders shook once violently, as if his body no longer knew how to contain pain. He turned away in shame, but Jimin caught his coat and pulled him back. No, Jimin murmured, stay. Jungkook had been hit, cursed, abandoned, hunted. Nothing had ever made him weaker than kindness. He bent forward, forehead falling against Jimin's shoulder, and cried with the stunned desperation of a man who had forgotten tears were possible. Jimin held him without triumph, without questions, one hand at the back of his neck, the other against his spine. The storm moved east. Somewhere below, a siren wailed through the streets. I'm scared, Jungkook confessed into the fabric of Jimin's coat. I know. I don't know how to be loved. I know. They'll come for you. Jimin held him tighter. Then let them find out, he whispered, voice shaking but certain, that you won't face anything alone again. For the first time in years, Jungkook believed dawn might still exist, even for men like him. The knock came at 3:17 a.m. Not loud, not frantic. 3 calm taps against Jimin's apartment door, each one measured enough to be terrifying. Jimin's eyes snapped open in the darkness. The room was lit only by the blue haze of city lights leaking through thin curtains. Beside the couch, Jungkook was already awake, body rigid, hand reaching beneath the table where he had hidden a knife hours earlier. Neither of them spoke. Another 3 taps. Jimin's heartbeat thundered so hard he felt it in his throat. Stay behind me, Jungkook said quietly. You don't get to command me in my own apartment. Tonight I do. The coldness in his voice silenced everything else. Jungkook moved barefoot across the floor, silent despite his size, shoulders tense beneath the black shirt Jimin had lent him. He looked like a shadow carved into human shape. At the door he glanced through the peephole. Then all color drained from his face. Who is it? Jimin whispered. Jungkook did not answer. He unlocked the door. Are you insane? The door opened. A man in an expensive grey coat stood in the hallway, rainwater still shining on the shoulders of his jacket. Mid-30s, elegant posture, gloved hands. The kind of face magazines would call handsome if not for the emptiness in his eyes. He smiled. Jungkook, he said warmly, still dramatic, I see. Jimin felt the room temperature drop. The stranger's gaze slid to him. And this must be Jimin. Jungkook stepped fully into the doorway, blocking the view. Leave. That hurts, the man sighed. I came to congratulate you. For what? For finally crying. Jimin's stomach twisted. The stranger lifted his phone and turned the screen around. A grainy video played. The rooftop, rain, Jungkook collapsing into Jimin's arms. Someone had filmed everything. Jungkook's voice came out low and murderous. Minyu. Ah, there he is, Minyu smiled wider. I missed that tone. Jimin stared at Jungkook. You know him. I used to work for him. Minyu corrected gently, with me. Jungkook lunged so fast Jimin barely saw it. 1 second he was in the doorway, the next his hand was around Minyu's throat, slamming him against the hallway wall hard enough to rattle framed pictures. You come near him again, Jungkook hissed, and I'll bury you where no one finds bones. Minyu only laughed, breathless but amused. There's the monster I invested in. Jimin grabbed Jungkook's arm. Stop. Jungkook didn't move. Jungkook. Something in Jimin's voice reached him. He released Minyu with a shove that sent him stumbling. Minyu straightened his coat calmly, touching his bruised neck as if it were an inconvenience. You always did ruin expensive fabric. What do you want? Jimin demanded. Minyu's eyes gleamed. Honesty, since the three of us are sharing a home now. We are not, Jungkook began. Minyu ignored him. Jimin, do you know what he did for me? Minyu asked. I don't care. You should, he was brilliant. Minyu stepped into the apartment uninvited. Debt collection, intimidation, recovering stolen goods, persuasion. Jimin looked at Jungkook. Tell him he's lying. Jungkook said nothing. The silence hit harder than any confession. Jimin's voice shook. Tell me. I did what I had to do. That's not an answer. I know. Minyu wandered through the apartment like he owned it, touching bookshelves, glancing at photos. He broke 3 men in one night for threatening his mother. Efficient, beautiful, really. Shut up, Jungkook snapped. But he refused one job. Minyu turned to Jimin. You. Jimin froze. What? Minyu's smile sharpened. Someone paid very well to have you scared into leaving the city. Jungkook declined. First time he ever said no to me. Jimin's chest tightened. Who paid you? Minyu shrugged. That mystery remains useful. Jungkook's jaw flexed. You promised never to involve him. I lied. Jimin laughed once, disbelieving and hurt. So all this time, while I was crying over being abandoned, there were people hunting me because of you. I left to stop it. You left me with no explanation. I was trying to keep you alive. By destroying me. The words cracked through the room. Jungkook flinched as if struck. Minyu watched with open enjoyment. Jimin's eyes burned. Do you know what it felt like? Every morning checking my phone, every night blaming myself, wondering what flaw made you vanish. I know, Jungkook said hoarsely. I lived it too. Then why didn't you trust me enough to choose with you? No answer came. Because there was none. Minyu clapped slowly, delicious. Jungkook crossed the room and slammed him into the wall again. Say one more word. Minyu smiled through the pain. You're emotional, that makes you sloppy. A gun clicked. Jimin gasped. Minyu had drawn it so fast no one saw when. He aimed it casually at Jungkook's ribs. Hands off. Jungkook stepped back, fury blazing. Jimin's knees nearly gave out. Are you insane? Often, Minyu adjusted his cuff with the gun still steady. Now, business. He looked at Jungkook. The debt has grown. I paid enough. Not interest. You made up the interest. I make up many things. What do you want? Minyu's smile vanished. Come back for one final job. No, then I take him. Jimin's blood turned to ice. Jungkook moved in front of him instantly. Touch him and die. I admire the devotion, Minyu said, but I'm practical, you have 48 hours. For what job? Jungkook asked. Minyu tilted his head. Retrieve something stolen from me. What? The ledger. Jungkook's expression changed. Not fear. Recognition. You still kept it. Of course, it contains names, payments, politicians, police, celebrities, everyone who pretends clean hands. Minyu's eyes glittered. Someone stole it tonight. Jimin whispered, why come here? Because only one person ever knew where I hid it. He looked directly at Jungkook. You. Jungkook's voice was flat. I didn't take it. I believe you, Minyu smiled again, which means someone close to you did. Silence crashed into the room. Jimin stepped back slowly. What? Minyu turned to him with delight. Didn't he tell you, you work at the Law Archive building downtown, security clearance, access to records, perfect cover. Jimin stared at Jungkook. You used me. No. Did you know someone was using my job? No. Then why do you look guilty? Because I know who stole it. Who? Jungkook's eyes darkened. My brother. Jimin blinked. You have a brother. I had one. Minyu laughed softly, and now he lives. The room spun with secrets. Jimin stepped away from both men. How much of your life is real? Jungkook looked wrecked for the first time. What I feel for you is real. That's not what I asked. I know. Minyu checked his watch. 48 hours, bring me the ledger or I burn his life down piece by piece. He backed toward the door. Oh, and Jimin. Jimin said nothing. If you ever want the truth about why Jungkook disappeared the first time, ask him about the hospital fire. The door closed. Silence remained like smoke. Jimin turned slowly. The hospital fire. Jungkook's face had gone pale. Answer me. He didn't. Jimin's voice rose. Answer me. It was an accident. Was it? Jungkook swallowed. No. Jimin stared as if seeing a stranger. How many lies fit inside one person? I never lied about loving you. Maybe that's the cruelest lie of all. The words shattered something visible in Jungkook's eyes. Jimin hated himself for the pain he caused. He hated him more for causing this pain first. Get out, Jimin whispered. Jimin. Get out before I forget I once begged the universe to send you back. Jungkook didn't move. Tears gathered in Jimin's eyes, hot with rage. Please. That word did it. Jungkook nodded once, barely human in his grief. He walked to the door. At the threshold he stopped, back still turned. My brother's name is Taehyung, he said quietly. If he stole that ledger, it means he came back for a reason. Jimin said nothing. Jungkook opened the door. And if he came back, he added, voice breaking, then you're in more danger than even Minyu knows. The door shut behind him. Jimin stood alone in the apartment, shaking. Then he noticed something on the table. A folded note Jungkook must have left in the seconds before he walked out. Jimin opened it with numb fingers. 3 words. Don't trust Taehyung. Jimin did not sleep. The note lay on the kitchen table, until dawn like a wound that refused to close. Don't trust Taehyung. 3 words, no explanation, no apology, no signature needed. Outside the apartment window, the city woke slowly beneath pale morning fog. Motorbikes coughed awake. Vendors rolled metal shutters upward. Somewhere below, someone laughed too loudly, the sound bright and ordinary in a world that no longer felt ordinary. Jimin sat in silence, knees pulled to his chest on the couch Jungkook had slept on only hours before. He replayed every face, every word, every secret. Debt. Violence. A brother believed dead. A hospital fire. And love, if that was even what it had been. His phone vibrated. Unknown number. He stared at it before answering. What? Still sharp in the morning. Minyu. Jimin nearly threw the phone. What do you want? To help. I would rather swallow glass. Minyu chuckled. Good, keep that spirit, you'll need it. Lose my number. I never had it, I create access where needed. Jimin stood and paced. Say what you called to say. A pause. Your office archive opens at 8:30. Locker room corridor, third vent from the left. Jimin stopped walking. What? Go there before anyone else. Why? You ask too many questions for someone in danger. The line went dead. Jimin stared at the screen, pulse rising. Every instinct screamed trap. Every instinct also knew doing nothing would kill him slower. By 8:15 he was inside the archive building downtown, badge clipped to his coat, jaw tight enough to ache. The building smelled of old paper, dust and industrial cleaner. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. Everything looked painfully normal. He walked briskly through the employee corridor to the locker room. Empty. Third vent from the left. His fingers shook as he unscrewed the grill. Inside was a black flash drive wrapped in plastic. And beneath it, a folded photograph. Jimin opened the photo. His breath vanished. It showed Jungkook younger by several years, standing beside a tall man with sharp features and unreadable eyes. Taehyung. Brothers. Both smiling. Someone had written across the image in red ink. He lies best to the people he loves. Enjoying the gift. Jimin spun around. Taehyung stood in the doorway. Tall, elegant, dark coat, hands in pockets, face calm enough to be dangerous. He was more beautiful than photographs allowed, and colder than Minyu. Jimin instinctively stepped back. You break into employee areas often, he asked. Only when invited. I didn't invite you. Taehyung's gaze dropped briefly to the photo. No, but your curiosity did. Jimin held the flash drive tighter. Are you following me? I'm protecting what belongs to me. I'm not yours. Taehyung smiled faintly. Not you that. He nodded toward the drive. Jimin moved it behind his back. Then you shouldn't have hidden it in my workplace. I didn't. Then who did? You really trust Minyu less than me. I trust no one in this story. Smartest thing you've said today. Jimin moved toward the exit. Taehyung stepped aside without resistance. Too easy. Why did Jungkook say not to trust you? Taehyung's face changed for the first time. Something wounded passed through it and vanished. Because my brother confuses betrayal with abandonment. What does that mean? It means he left first. Jimin stopped. You're lying. Am I? Taehyung took one step closer. Did he tell you I disappeared, or did he tell you he handed me over? The corridor seemed to tilt. Jimin's voice lowered. Handed you over to who? Minyu. No. Yes. Taehyung's calm cracked at the edges now, anger bleeding through. I was 19. Jungkook owed money. Minyu wanted leverage. My brother gave them my location and called it temporary. Jimin shook his head. He wouldn't. He did. You expect me to believe he sacrificed his own brother. I expect you to understand what fear makes people do. Jimin's chest tightened painfully. Then why warn me not to trust you? Taehyung laughed once bitterly, because if you know me, you'll learn what he did. Footsteps sounded at the far end of the hall. Security. Taehyung leaned close enough for Jimin to smell winter and smoke on his coat. Meet me tonight, 11 p.m. Riverside Parking Deck, Level 6. I'm not meeting anyone. If you want the truth about the hospital fire, you will. He slipped past Jimin and vanished through the stairwell door just as two guards rounded the corner. Sir, are you authorized in here? Jimin forced a smile. Wrong hallway. He spent the day pretending to work. Files blurred, voices became static. His mind kept circling one impossible thought. What if Jungkook had not only lied? What if he had destroyed people to survive? At 6:30, when the office emptied, Jimin finally inserted the flash drive into a secure terminal. A folder opened. No names. No accounts. Only videos. 23 files. The first one was dated 6 years ago. He clicked play. The screen filled with dim warehouse footage. A younger Jungkook entered frame, blood on his knuckles, breathing hard. Someone behind the camera laughed. Minu's voice. Tell me again why you need the money. Jungkook stared into the lens. My mother needs surgery. Then earn it. The camera turned. A terrified teenager was tied to a chair. Jimin recoiled. No, he whispered. Jungkook's face twisted. You said no kids. Debt changes policy. I'm not touching him. Then your mother dies waiting. Jimin's hands went numb. On screen, Jungkook stood frozen, shaking with rage and helplessness. Then another person entered frame. Taehyung, younger, smiling, immaculate. I'll do it, Taehyung said casually. Jungkook lunged at him. Stay back. The footage cut. Jimin opened the next file. Another warehouse, another date. Jungkook and Taehyung screaming at each other. You think suffering makes you noble, Taehyung shouted. You think cruelty makes you strong, Jungkook fired back. At least I don't pretend I'm still good. Jungkook punched the wall beside him. I'm trying to get us out. You're dragging us deeper. The footage ended. Jimin sat frozen. Neither brother was innocent. Neither brother was only guilty. His phone rang. Jungkook. He let it ring twice before answering. What? Static breathing. Then Jungkook's voice, low and urgent. Leave the building now. Jimin stood instantly. How do you know where I am? Because Minu sent 3 men inside 10 minutes ago. Ice flooded his veins. What? Listen carefully. Do not use the elevators. Stairwell B, go down 2 floors, then cross to parking access. Why should I trust? A crash sounded over the line. Jungkook cursed violently. Because I'm bleeding to keep them off you. The call cut. Jimin ran. He burst into stairwell B and sprinted downward, shoes slamming concrete. Voices below. Male. Laughing. He stopped short. Wrong way. A hand grabbed his arm from behind and yanked him into the shadows between floors. Jimin gasped, elbow flying back. Taehyung caught it easily and pinned him against the wall. Quiet. You psycho. 3 men below, 2 above, Taehyung murmured. Do you want to insult me now or survive first? Jimin glared. Get your hands off me. Taehyung released him immediately. From above came footsteps. Heavy. Closing fast. Taehyung pulled a compact pistol from inside his coat. Jimin stared. You carry a gun to meetings. I carry disappointment. The gun is extra. 2 men appeared on the landing. Taehyung fired once. The light exploded, plunging the stairwell into darkness. Chaos erupted. Shouting, running. Taehyung grabbed Jimin's wrist and dragged him upward through blackness. What are you doing? Jimin hissed. Improvising. That's not a plan. It's better than yours. They burst onto the rooftop access level. Wind slammed into them. Across the roof, another door crashed open. Jungkook emerged, blood running from a cut near his temple, shirt torn, eyes wild with fury. He saw Taehyung holding Jimin's wrist. Everything in him went lethal. Let go of him. Taehyung released Jimin slowly. Still jealous, cute. Jungkook strode forward. I told you to stay dead. I tried. You're difficult to haunt. Jimin stepped between them. Stop it. Neither listened. You used him, Jungkook demanded. I saved him. You brought hunters to his workplace. I followed yours. Jungkook lunged. They collided like collapsing buildings. Punches, grunts, years of hatred made physical. Jimin shouted for them to stop, but the wind swallowed his voice. Taehyung slammed Jungkook into an air vent. Jungkook drove a fist into Taehyung's ribs. Taehyung staggered, laughing through pain. There he is. Jungkook hit him again. You sold me. I survived you. Jimin froze. The words rang louder than the fight. Jungkook stopped too. Taehyung wiped blood from his lip. You told Minyu where I'd be that night, he said, voice shaking now. Don't deny it. Jungkook's silence was answer enough. Jimin stared at him. You did. Jungkook looked at no one. I thought they'd scare him, I didn't know. You never know, do you? Taehyung snapped. You never know until someone else pays. Jimin's chest broke open with fresh grief. How many people have loved you and bled for it? Jungkook looked at him then, shattered. Jimin. No, tears burned hot. Don't say my name like it means safety. Sirens wailed below. Blue-red light flickered up building walls. Taehyung glanced over the edge. Minyu called police and his own men, efficient. Jimin backed away from both brothers. I'm done being dragged through your war. He turned for the stairwell. Jungkook caught his wrist. Please. That one word held more pain than pride. Jimin looked down at Jungkook's hand, then up at the blood on his face. I loved you, Jimin whispered. I don't know who you are. Jungkook's grip loosened like a dying thing. Taehyung watched in silence. Then his phone buzzed. He checked the screen and all expression vanished. What? Jungkook demanded. Taehyung lifted his eyes slowly. It's Minyu. No kidding. He says if we want your mother alive, he swallowed once, we come alone. Jungkook went white. My mother is dead. Taehyung's voice dropped to almost nothing. Apparently not. For 3 full seconds no one moved. The sirens below kept screaming, wind kept tearing across the rooftop, city lights kept flickering like nothing had changed. But everything had changed. Jungkook's face emptied of blood. You're lying, he said to Taehyung, though his voice sounded like he was speaking to fate itself. Taehyung held out the phone. Minyu had sent a photograph. A woman seated in a wooden chair, wrists tied loosely with silk rope as if cruelty had learned manners. Hair streaked with silver now, eyes exhausted but unmistakable. Jungkook staggered backward. His knees almost gave. No, he whispered, I buried her. Jimin felt a chill crawl up his spine. The photo was recent. Today's newspaper lay on the table beside her. Taehyung spoke carefully. The funeral casket was closed. Jungkook's breathing turned ragged. I saw hospital records. Records can be bought. I saw ashes. Those can be bought too. Jungkook looked like a man watching the laws of reality collapse one by one. Jimin stepped closer despite himself. Jungkook. Don't. Jungkook's eyes were wet and furious. Don't pity me. That isn't pity. I don't care what it is. He snatched the phone from Taehyung, zooming into the photo with shaking fingers. Mama. The word came out so quietly it barely existed. Jimin had never heard his voice sound young before. Taehyung looked away. Sirens grew louder below. We need to move, Taehyung said. Jungkook rounded on him instantly. You knew. No, you knew she might be alive. I suspected Minyu lied about many things. You let me mourn her for years. Taehyung's jaw hardened. You handed me to wolves for years. The brothers stood inches apart, grief and hatred braided so tightly neither could breathe. Jimin stepped between them again. If you keep competing over pain, Minyu wins. They both looked at him. For once both fell silent. Jimin continued, voice trembling but sharp. We need facts, where is she? Taehyung took back the phone and opened the message thread. One line beneath the photo. Doc 17, midnight come as family. Jungkook laughed once, hollow and dangerous. He wants theatre. He wants leverage, Taehyung corrected. He wants to die. Jimin grabbed Jungkook's arm. Stop talking like that. He took my mother. He may be baiting you. He is baiting me. Then don't become exactly what he expects. Jungkook looked down at Jimin's hand on his sleeve. For one painful second, something soft returned to his face. Then it vanished. You should go home. No, this isn't your fight. You dragged me into it. I'm trying to drag you out. Too late. Taehyung gave a dry laugh. You two argue like divorced royalty. Shut up, they said together. Taehyung blinked, then smirked despite blood on his lip. Adorable. Jimin glared. I haven't decided if I hate you yet. Take your time. Jungkook shoved past them toward the stairwell. We're going. We, Jimin asked. Knows me. Absolutely not. He turned. You don't order me. And you don't martyr yourself every hour like it's a personality trait. Taehyung made a noise suspiciously close to laughter. Jungkook shot him a murderous look. One more sound. Still dramatic. Jimin moved closer to Jungkook until only inches separated them. You lied to me, Jimin said quietly. You broke me. I am furious with you. Jungkook's gaze dropped. But if your mother is alive, I'm not letting you walk into hell alone. Jungkook's throat worked. You shouldn't care. I know. The words hit him visibly. Taehyung looked between them with unreadable eyes. Then he said, we need weapons, transport and a plan, which means we need my apartment. Jungkook recoiled instantly. No. You know a better safe house. I'd rather bleed in traffic. Charming still no. Jimin folded his arms. We're going. 20 minutes later, they entered Taehyung's penthouse. Jimin stopped dead in the doorway. Floor-to-ceiling glass, black marble, art that probably cost more than his yearly salary, a piano near the windows, shelves of rare books. The entire place smelled faintly of cedar and expensive loneliness. You live here? Jimin asked. Taehyung removed his coat. I perform wealth, it discourages questions. Jungkook prowled through the room like a wolf in enemy territory. You always liked trophies. I prefer armor. Taehyung opened a hidden panel behind a painting. Inside were firearms, passports, stacks of cash and folders. Jimin stared. Of course. Taehyung handed him a first aid kit instead. You're the only one here likely to use this sensibly. Jimin turned to Jungkook. Blood still trickled from his temple. Sit. I'm fine. Sit. I said. Sit down before I stitch your mouth shut for efficiency. Taehyung coughed to hide a laugh. Jungkook glared at both of them, then sat. Jimin cleaned the wound in silence. Jungkook hissed when antiseptic touched skin. Hurts? Jimin asked coolly. Yes. Good. You're enjoying this. Immensely. Their eyes met. Too much history lived there. Too much unfinished tenderness. Jimin looked away first. Taehyung spread papers across the table. Dock 17 has 3 entrances, front gate, warehouse side, water access. Jungkook touched the map, snipers here and here. Agreed. Camera blind spots. Only one, north container lane. Jimin glanced between them. You two do this often, analyze murder architecture. Childhood hobby, Taehyung said. Jungkook's face darkened. Jimin regretted the question instantly. Taehyung continued. Minyu will expect emotion, that means he'll underestimate patience. He knows me better than that, Jungkook said. No, Taehyung replied softly, he knows the version he built. Silence settled. Jimin broke it. Tell me about the hospital fire. Jungkook stiffened. Taehyung leaned back, perfect timing. Tell me, Jimin repeated. Jungkook stood. No. Why? Because there's no time. There's time for secrets apparently. Jimin. No, his voice sharpened. You don't get to decide when truth is convenient. Taehyung watched like a man at theatre. Jungkook closed his eyes once, then opened them. The hospital was where my mother stayed after surgery. Jimin listened, heart hammering. Minyu wanted me back, I refused, then the fire started. Taehyung added coldly, in the records wing first. Jungkook glared, I know where it started. Jimin whispered, did you set it? No. Did mean you? I think so. Taehyung's expression sharpened. Think. Jungkook snapped, I saw one of his men there. Yet you never told me. You were already gone. Because you sold me. I was trying to save you. By sacrificing me. Jimin slammed both hands on the table. Enough. The room rang silent. He looked at them one by one. You are both addicted to being wounded. Neither spoke. Jimin's voice shook now with anger and pity. Maybe both of you were betrayed, maybe both of you failed each other, but if you keep worshipping the past, your mother dies tonight. Jungkook stared at him like he'd been struck awake. Taehyung slowly nodded. Well, he murmured, I suddenly understand why he loved you. Jimin blinked, loved. Taehyung met his gaze, present tense was intentional. Jungkook's jaw clenched, not now. Taehyung smirked, touchy. A phone rang. Not Jimin's. Not Jungkook. The landline by the kitchen. All three froze. Taehyung frowned, no one has this number. It rang again. And again. He answered on speaker. No greeting came. Only soft breathing. Then a woman's voice. Jungkook. Jungkook went rigid. Mama. Jimin's chest tightened. The woman sounded tired, older, trembling. I don't have much time. Where are you? Jungkook demanded. A muffled sound, metal door, footsteps. Listen to me, she whispered urgently. Do not come to Dock 17. Taehyung and Jungkook exchanged a look. Why? Jungkook asked. Because I'm not there. The room seemed to stop breathing. A man's laugh entered the line. Mean you? Ah, he said pleasantly, spoilers ruin suspense. The woman gasped as if the phone had been taken. Jungkook roared, touch her and I'll rip. Mean you cut him off. New venue, Mori private. Taehyung was already tracing signal routes on another device. Where? Jungkook said. Mean you chuckled, somewhere meaningful. The call ended. Taehyung looked up slowly. I know where he is. Where? Jimin asked. Taehyung's face had gone pale for the first time. The old hospital. The drive to the old hospital felt like entering a memory no one survived. Rain smeared the windshield in silver streaks while the city thinned into abandoned districts and dead factories. Streetlights became rarer. Buildings leaned like tired men. Every few minutes thunder rolled low across the sky, as if something enormous was waking beneath it. Jimin sat in the back seat of Taehyung's black sedan, fingers locked so tightly his knuckles ached. Jungkook drove. Too fast. His jaw was rigid, temple still bandaged, eyes fixed ahead with the terrifying stillness of someone holding himself together by force alone. Taehyung sat in the passenger seat, loading a pistol with methodical calm. The clicking of bullets sliding into place filled the car. Jimin finally snapped. Could you not do that like a movie villain? Taehyung glanced back, would humming help? No. I tried kindness once, it confused people. Stop talking, Jungkook muttered. Taehyung looked sideways at him, still jealous I'm charming under pressure. Jungkook accelerated. Keep speaking, he said coldly, and I'll test whether this car can eject one passenger. Jimin would have laughed if terror were not choking him. The old hospital appeared at the end of a cracked avenue like a corpse refusing burial. 10 stories of broken windows, concrete blackened by old fire damage, rusted ambulance bay doors hanging crooked, weeds bursting through asphalt. One wing collapsed inward years ago, leaving jagged ribs of steel exposed to the night. Jimin whispered, people really let this stay here. Taehyung answered quietly, some ruins are useful. Jungkook killed the engine. For a moment no one moved. Then he said, Jimin stays in the car. No, this is not debate night. I'm coming. You'll slow us down. I saved your wound 30 minutes ago. You used alcohol wipes, not combat. Taehyung opened his door. Children, please, I'd like to survive long enough to be offended later. Jungkook rounded on him, watch him. Taehyung smiled, interesting phrasing. Jimin got out before either could stop him. Cold rain hit instantly. I am not luggage, he said. Jungkook stepped close enough that rain ran from his lashes onto Jimin's face. If anything happens to you. What, you'll feel bad in silence. Pain flickered through Jungkook's expression. Good, Jimin thought savagely. Then hated himself for thinking it. Taehyung checked his watch. If we finish this before dawn, I'm buying breakfast. No one likes you enough for breakfast, Jungkook said. I like me enough for everyone. They entered through the ambulance bay. Inside, the hospital smelled of wet dust, mold and old smoke. Flashlights carved pale tunnels through darkness. Torn curtains drifted in broken corridors like ghosts practicing. Jimin's shoes crunched over shattered glass. Somewhere above them, metal clanged. Everyone froze. Taehyung raised one hand. Listening. Then silence. Probably rats, he murmured. That was person-sized, Jimin whispered. Large rats. They moved deeper. Faded signs still clung to walls. Radiology. Pediatrics. ICU. Jungkook slowed near a scorched doorway, breathing harder. Jimin noticed. This room. Jungkook nodded once. My mother was here. The room beyond was blackened by fire. Bed frames melted into grotesque shapes. Ceiling collapsed in places. Rain leaked through upper cracks, tapping steadily into puddles. Jungkook stood in the threshold like he was 16 again. I came back after smoke alarms, he said quietly. Couldn't find her. Taehyung's voice was softer than Jimin had yet heard. You found a covered body. Jungkook nodded. They told me burns made identification impossible. Jimin looked at him. Years of grief suddenly made sense in his posture, in his anger, in the way he always stood like something had once been ripped from him without warning. A slow clap echoed down the corridor. All three spun. Minyu emerged from the dark wearing a charcoal coat and carrying no visible weapon. 4 armed men followed several steps behind. He looked delighted. Family reunion in the trauma ward, poetry writes itself. Jungkook moved first. He charged. Gunfire exploded. Taehyung slammed Jimin to the floor as bullets tore plaster above them. Jungkook dove behind an overturned gurney, snarling curses. Taehyung fired twice in calm succession. One guard screamed and dropped. The corridor became chaos. Jimin crawled behind a nurse's station, heart punching his ribs. He heard Jungkook shouting, Taehyung reloading, Minyu laughing. Who laughs during gunfire? Psychopaths apparently. Jimin, Jungkook yelled, stay down. Excellent advice, Minyu called, rare from him. Jimin peeked over the counter. Huge mistake. A guard grabbed his coat collar and hauled him upward. Jimin drove his elbow backward blindly. It connected with a nose. Crunch, the man swore. Jimin snatched a metal clipboard and smashed it across his face. The guard staggered. Taehyung shot him in the thigh without looking. The man collapsed screaming. Taehyung tilted his head at Jimin. Aggressive, I approve. Focus. Minyu retreated down another corridor. Bring them. Jungkook vaulted the gurney and pursued instantly. Jungkook, Jimin shouted. Too late. Taehyung cursed. He always chases emotion first. They ran after him. Hallways twisted through darkness, past abandoned operating theatres and cracked nursery windows, where rusted cribs sat in rows. At the end of a long corridor stood double doors marked surgery. One hung open. Inside, harsh white light glared. Generators hummed. Someone had restored power to this wing. Jimin's skin crawled. They entered slowly. The operating theatre had been transformed. Monitors, fresh cables, portable lamps. And in the centre, seated calmly in a wheelchair, was Jungkook's mother. Alive. Older. Thin. But alive. Jungkook was already kneeling in front of her, hands shaking as he touched her face like he feared she'd vanish. "Mama," she cupped his cheek. "My baby." Jimin had to look away for a second because the rawness of it was unbearable. Taehyung stood motionless beside him. The woman lifted her eyes to Taehyung. "My other son." Taehyung inhaled sharply. She opened one arm. He did not move for several seconds. Then he crossed the room like a child remembering how to run and knelt beside Jungkook. All three embraced. Jimin felt tears sting unexpectedly. Even ruins could hold miracles. Then Minyook's voice drifted from the balcony above. "Touching." Every head snapped upward. He stood behind the observation glass overlooking the theater, remote detonator in hand. Red lights blinked along the walls. Charges. Explosives. Jimin's blood froze. Taehyung rose instantly, gun aimed. "You sentimental parasite." Minyook smiled. "I kept her alive for leverage, you're welcome." Jungkook stood in front of his mother. "Let us go." "No. What do you want?" Minyook's eyes shone strangely. "You. Then take me." Eventually, he looked down at Jimin, "But first I'd like honesty from the room." No one spoke. Minyook continued. "Who told police where my dock operation was raided tonight?" Taehyung said nothing. Jungkook said nothing. Minyook laughed. "How loyal it was one of you." Jimin frowned. "What?" Minyook clicked a monitor on. Security footage from Dock 17. Police swarming. Containers seized. Men arrested. He looked furious beneath the smile now. "Someone betrayed me." Taehyung said coolly, "Maybe crime has become unpopular." Minyook pressed a button. One explosive light turned from red to green. "Warning." Jimin's mouth dried. "Try humor again," Minyook said, "and we lose a floor." Jungkook stepped forward. "I called no police." "True." He turned to Taehyung. Taehyung's gaze never wavered. "I did." Jungkook stared. "You what?" "I sent an anonymous tip an hour ago." Minyook's smile disappeared. "You arrogant little traitor." Taehyung shrugged. "I've been called worse by less interesting men." Jungkook grabbed his arm. "You risked all of us." "I improved odds." "You escalated him." "He was already here with bombs." "Enough," their mother cried. The room fell silent. Her voice, though weak, carried command sharpened by years of suffering. She looked at both sons. "I did not survive monsters to watch my children become them." Jungkook lowered his eyes. Taehyung looked away. She turned upward to Minyook. "And you." Something fierce entered her face. "You were always a lonely boy pretending power could replace love." Minyook blinked. Actual surprise. Then rage. "Careful. You chained me for years," she said steadily. "Fed me lies about my sons, but every night you asked if they remembered me." Her voice sharpened. "That is not power, that is hunger." Minyook's hand trembled on the detonator. Jimin saw it. Saw the fracture. And moved. He snatched a metal tray from beside the operating table and hurled it upward. It struck the glass hard enough to crack it. Minyook flinched. Taehyung fired. The bullet shattered the observation window. Chaos detonated before explosives could. Glass rained downward. Minyook stumbled back. Jungkook surged toward the stairwell door leading upstairs. "Stay with her," he shouted. He disappeared into the corridor. Taehyung cursed and ran after him. Jimin turned to their mother. "We need to move." She smiled tiredly. "You're the brave one he loves." Jimin froze. Before he could answer, a deafening blast rocked the building. The floor lurched. Lights died. Smoke poured through vents. And somewhere above them, Jungkook screamed Taehyung's name. The second explosion blew out the operating theater doors. Heat punched through the room like a living animal. Metal screamed, ceiling tiles shattered downward in a white storm. Jimin threw himself over Jungkook's mother as fragments rained across the floor. For a moment there was no sound except ringing. Then smoke came. Thick, bitter, immediate. Jimin coughed violently and pushed himself up. "Are you hurt?" Jungkook's mother blinked through dust, only tired. "Great, we can be tired outside." He grabbed the wheelchair handles and shoved forward. The wheels jammed on debris. "Seriously." Another tremor shook the floor. Somewhere above, gunshots cracked through the darkness. "Jungkook. Taehyung. Minyu." Jimin's stomach twisted. He forced the chair over broken concrete inch by inch until it rolled free into the corridor. Emergency lights flickered on in dull red pulses, turning the ruined hallway into something infernal. "We need an exit," he said. "There's an old service elevator at the east wing," she replied hoarsely. "Does it work?" "No idea." "Excellent, I love impossible plans." He pushed hard through smoke. Behind them, alarms began wailing, late, panicked, useless. The corridor ahead split left and right. Then footsteps emerged from the haze. The guard. Gun raised. Jimin froze. The man smiled through blood on his cheek, found the mother. Before he could aim, the wheelchair swung sideways. Jungkook's mother rammed his knees with shocking force. He screamed and dropped. She snatched his pistol from his hand with practiced speed and pointed it at his face. Jimin stared. She fired once. The shot echoed down the hall. The guard collapsed. Smoke drifted around them. Jimin looked at her slowly. She adjusted the blanket over her lap. "I was a nurse before I was kidnapped," she said calmly. "We learn many things." Jimin blinked twice. "I suddenly understand Jungkook. Everyone says that before, regretting it. Even now," he nearly laughed. Upstairs, another burst of gunfire. Then a roar of rage that could only belong to Jungkook. The upper floor corridor had become a battlefield. Jungkook slammed Minyu into a wall hard enough to crack plaster. Minyu laughed, blood into his teeth. "You still hit like grief." Jungkook hit him again. "Where is the detonator?" Minyu spat red onto the floor. "Where your childhood went." Jungkook grabbed him by the collar and dragged him toward the balcony rail. Below, flames licked through the theater windows. "You took my mother. I preserved her. You tortured her. I kept her breathing." Jungkook nearly threw him over. Then Taehyung staggered through smoke, clutching his side. "Don't," he barked. Jungkook barely looked at him. "He dies." "Yes," Taehyung said, breathless, but intelligently. Minyu laughed harder. "You two still need each other," revolting. Taehyung raised his gun. "Empty." He tossed it aside. "Where's the detonator?" he asked. Minyu's smile widened. "Wouldn't you like to know?" Jungkook slammed his head into the wall. Minyu groaned at last. "There," he gasped, nodding toward a nearby nurse's station. Taehyung sprinted through smoke, kicked open drawers, ripped through cabinets. "Nothing. You liar." "Obviously," Minyu coughed. Jungkook lost control. He drove punch after punch into Minyu's face until Taehyung physically dragged him back. "Stop. He burns with this building. And if he dies without telling us, we burn too." Jungkook thrashed free, then let it happen. Taehyung grabbed both sides of his brother's face. "Look at me." Jungkook froze in pure shock. Taehyung's eyes were wild. "She's alive down there because we still have time. If you choose revenge now, you lose her twice." The words hit like cold water. Jungkook's rage cracked. For 1 second, the younger brother showed through the monster everyone feared. Taehyung released him. "Good," he muttered, "now be useful." He turned and drove his fist into Minyu's throat. Minyu collapsed, wheezing. Jungkook crouched beside him, voice low and lethal. "The detonator." Minyu pointed weakly toward his own chest pocket. Jungkook ripped it free. A compact remote blinking red. Taehyung snatched it. Can you disarm it? Jungkook asked. No. Then why grab it? Because I'm optimistic. Below, Jimin reached the east wing. The service elevator doors were half open, rusted apart. Inside was darkness. Jimin groaned, of course. He looked around desperately. A stairwell door hung crooked nearby. He pushed the wheelchair toward it. Locked. He kicked it. Nothing. Jungkook's mother held out the pistol. Try this key. He shot the lock. The door swung inward. I like you, Jimin said. Wait until I ask questions. They began descending the concrete stairs. Smoke poured downward now. Jimin coughed between steps, dragging the wheelchair backward one stair at a time. You should leave me, she said quietly. No. I slow you. Yes. Then be sensible. I'm in love with your son, clearly I'm not sensible. She studied him in the flashing red light. And which son? Jimin almost dropped the chair. Excuse me. She smiled faintly. Relax, I know. Know what? That both boys loved you the moment they met you. Jimin stared. What? She continued as if discussing weather. Jungkook became softer, Taehyung became meaner, very obvious signs. I think smoke is making you hallucinate. Keep moving. On the fourth landing, armed men burst upward from below. 3 of them. Jimin shoved the chair behind him instinctively. Stay back. One guard laughed, brave secretary. I work archives. Same thing. He raised his gun. A shot rang out from above. The guard dropped. Jungkook came down the stairs like vengeance itself, shirt burned, knuckles split, eyes murderous. Behind him limped Taehyung, remote in hand. The remaining guards fired wildly. Jungkook tackled one over the rail. Both crashed down 2 flights. Jimin screamed. Taehyung shot the second man in the shoulder, then winced and clutched his bleeding side. Jimin stared. You're shot. Taehyung glanced down, rude of him. Jungkook climbed back up the stairs, dragging the unconscious guard by one ankle. Move, he snapped. They descended together. Family somehow. On the first floor landing, the building shook again. Taehyung examined the remote. Bad news. No, Jimin said immediately. Yes. What bad news? There are 2 charge networks, this only controls one. Jungkook swore violently. So the other. Timer-based. How long? Taehyung listened. A faint electronic beeping echoed through the stairwell. Then he smiled humorlessly. Not long. They burst out into the ambulance bay, just as rain slammed down harder than before. Fresh air hit like salvation. Jimin wheeled their mother into the storm. For one glorious second, survival felt possible. Then headlights flooded the yard. 6 black SUVs rolled through the gates. Doors opened. Men with rifles poured out. At the center, under an umbrella held by another man, stood Minyu. Perfectly clean. Perfectly smiling. Jimin turned slowly. What? Taehyung's face went blank. Jungkook looked back at the hospital entrance. Then at the man outside. Then understanding hit all of them at once. The one upstairs. The bloodied man they fought. The man with Minyu's face. Had been a double. Minyu spread his arms. I wondered how long it would take. Jungkook's voice came out like murder. You used a body double. I value cardio less than you do. Taehyung whispered, psychotic narcissist. Accurate but rude. Minyu's gaze moved to Jungkook's mother. She stared back with pure disgust. He almost looked hurt. I kept you alive, Hana. You kept me caged. I kept you close. You confuse love with possession. Minyu sighed. Everyone says that when ungrateful. Jungkook stepped in front of her wheelchair. Come take her. Minyu's smile sharpened. No, I came to offer terms. No, you haven't heard them. No, still impulsive. He looked at Jimin. Perhaps the reasonable one will listen. Jimin's skin crawled. I'd rather drown. Harsh yet elegant. Minyu's voice turned cold. Jungkook returns to me willingly for 1 year. In exchange, all of you walk away alive tonight. Rain hammered metal roofs. No one breathed. Jimin looked at Jungkook. Jungkook looked only at Minyu. 1 year, Taehyung said softly. Minyu nodded. No tricks, no retaliation. He works for me, then he is free. You don't keep promises, Taehyung said. I keep useful ones. Jungkook stepped forward. I'll do it. No, Jimin shouted instantly. Jungkook didn't turn. It's the only way. It's the stupidest way. She gets out. So do we, Jimin grabbed his arm. We find another option. There isn't time. There is always another option. Not for people like me. The sentence sliced Jimin open. He moved in front of Jungkook, rain soaking both of them. Stop deciding you are disposable. Jungkook's eyes flickered. You deserve more than chains. I don't. Yes, you do. I have blood on my hands. So wash it off, don't offer your wrists again. Silence. Even Minyu watched closely. Jungkook's voice dropped. If I stay with you, they never stop. Then let them come. They'll ruin you. You don't get to choose whether I'm willing. Rain streamed down Jungkook's face like tears he refused to shed. I can't lose you. Jimin's own voice broke. You're losing me right now. Taehyung looked away. Their mother wept quietly in the chair. Minyu checked his watch. Romantic but boring, decide. Jungkook inhaled once. Then gently removed Jimin's hand from his sleeve. And walked toward Minyu. The voice cracked across the rain like thunder. Everyone turned. Jungkook's mother rose from the wheelchair. Slowly, painfully, but fully standing. Even Jungkook froze mid-step. Mama. She pushed the chair aside with one hand and walked forward into the storm, hospital flames flickering behind her like a crown of ruin. Rain soaked her silver hair flat against her face, but her eyes were sharp enough to cut steel. Minyu lowered his umbrella. Hana, he said softly, almost tenderly, you should sit. You should die. Jimin nearly inhaled rain. Taehyung actually laughed once. Jungkook's mother kept walking until she stood between Jungkook and Minyu. No more taking my sons. Minyu's smile thinned. They were never yours alone. She slapped him hard. The sound echoed over engines and rain. Every armed man around them stiffened. Jimin stared in awe. Minyu slowly turned his face back toward her. A red mark bloomed across his cheek. Something dark and dangerous entered his eyes. I tolerated your grief, he said quietly. Do not mistake that for mercy. You tolerated nothing, she replied. You starved in a mansion and called it love. Minyu grabbed her wrist. Jungkook moved instantly. So did Taehyung. Both brothers hit Minyu's men before anyone could aim. Gunfire exploded. The yard descended into war. Jimin dragged Jungkook's mother behind an overturned ambulance as bullets sparked off metal. Are you insane? He shouted. Yes, she said calmly, they got it from me. Jungkook tore through 2 guards with brutal precision, using one as a shield while disarming another. Taehyung slid across wet concrete, snatched a fallen rifle and fired into headlights, plunging half the yard into darkness. Minyu disappeared into the chaos. Coward, Taehyung yelled. Strategist, Minyu's voice called back somewhere unseen. Jimin peeked around the ambulance. Huge mistake. A man rushed him with a knife. Jimin ducked by instinct, grabbed the attacker's sleeve and slammed his head into the ambulance door. The man staggered. Jimin stared at his own hands. I did not know I could do that. Jungkook appeared and punched the man unconscious without slowing down. You keep surprising me, he said breathlessly. Jimin grabbed his shirt. You were about to surrender yourself. I changed my mind. You don't get credit for delayed intelligence. Jungkook almost smiled. Then bullets ripped across the ambulance frame. He shoved Jimin down and covered him with his body. The sound of impacts thundered inches above them. Jimin's heart slammed against ribs for reasons not entirely related to danger. Get off me, he muttered. No, you're heavy. You're alive. That's annoyingly persuasive. Their eyes met in the cramped shelter of smoke, rain and metal. For one insane second the world narrowed to breath and nearness. Then Taehyung kicked the ambulance door. If you two are flirting, do it while moving. They scrambled out. The hospital groaned behind them. A section of upper wall collapsed in sparks. Taehyung pointed toward the loading docks. Minyu ran inside the warehouse. Then we end it, Jungkook said. No, Jimin snapped. Both brothers turned. You two hear trap and think invitation. It is a trap, Taehyung agreed. Thank you. But he's wounded and cornered, Taehyung added. Jimin glared. I rescind my thank you. Jungkook took Jimin's hand suddenly. Warm, firm, unexpected. Stay with my mother. Jimin looked down at their joined hands, then up at him. Don't make promises with your eyes and leave with your feet. Pain flashed through Jungkook's face. I'll come back. You said that before. No, Jimin said quietly. You vanished before saying anything. The words landed hard. Rain poured between them. Jungkook tightened his grip once, then hear me now. His voice lowered. I am coming back to you. Jimin's breath caught. Taehyung groaned theatrically. I'm surrounded by emotional terrorism. Jungkook released Jimin and ran for the warehouse. Taehyung followed, then glanced back once. If he dies before apologizing properly, I'm blaming you. Go to hell, Jimin shouted. Likely, but later. They disappeared into darkness. Jimin turned to Jungkook's mother. She was watching him with suspicious amusement. What? You love him very loudly. I'm currently furious with him. Yes, she said, loudly. Inside the warehouse, hanging lamps swung over rows of shipping containers and stacked crates. Rain drummed on the roof like distant applause. Minyu's voice echoed from everywhere and nowhere. Brothers entering together, character growth. Jungkook moved ahead with predatory focus. Show yourself. I did, your mother slapped me, humiliating. Taehyung circled left. Come out and I'll do the other cheek. Still my favorite. You need better taste. A laser dot appeared on Jungkook's chest. Sniper. Taehyung shouted down. Jungkook dove as a shot shattered crates behind him. Another laser dot found Taehyung. He rolled behind a forklift. Two shooters on catwalk, he called. Jungkook vaulted onto a conveyor belt and climbed toward the upper level. Subtle as ever, Taehyung muttered. He sprinted opposite direction. Above, catwalk metal rang under footsteps. Jungkook tackled the first sniper into railing. They crashed through it together, falling onto stacked tarps below. The man hit wrong and did not rise. Jungkook rose, dazed. Second sniper aimed point blank. Taehyung shot him first. The sniper dropped. Jungkook looked up. Taehyung stood on the catwalk, gun smoking. Try gratitude, Taehyung called. Try shutting up. Close enough. Slow clapping echoed again. Minyu stepped from an office mezzanine above the warehouse floor, pistol in one hand, detonator in the other. You always were magnificent together. Jungkook's voice was ice. It ends tonight. Minyu tilted his head. Does it? He pressed the detonator. Nothing happened. He frowned. Taehyung lifted an identical remote in his free hand. Looking for this? Minyu's smile vanished. You pickpocketed me. During the slap distraction, Mother raised professionals. Jungkook barked a shocked laugh despite everything. Minyu's eyes darkened. Give it back. No, I'll kill him. You've been trying. Minyu fired at Jungkook. Jungkook moved too late. Jimin screamed from below. He had entered the warehouse. The bullet missed Jungkook by inches, because Jimin had thrown a metal hook attached to a chain, striking Minyu's wrist at the exact second of the shot. Everyone stared. Jimin stared too. I have no idea what I'm doing. Taehyung laughed helplessly. Jungkook shouted, Why are you here? Because apparently I also hate plans. Minyu recovered fast and grabbed Jimin by the throat, dragging him against the mezzanine rail with a gun to his head. The room froze. There, Minyu said softly, now it feels balanced. Jungkook went still in a terrifying way. Let him go. Drop your weapon, Minyu told Taehyung. Taehyung lowered the gun. Kick it away. He did. Now remote. Taehyung hesitated. Minyu pressed the gun harder against Jimin's temple. Now, Taehyung tossed the remote across the floor. Minyu smiled, good boys. Jimin choked out, he really talks like this all the time. Quiet, Minyu said. Had to ask. Jungkook took one step forward. Minyu cocked the gun. Another step and I redecorate. Jungkook stopped. Rain hammered the roof. Everyone breathed too loudly. Then Jungkook said quietly, You never loved my mother. Minyu's gaze flicked to him. You loved needing her. A pulse moved in Minyu's jaw. You loved owning pain because no one ever chose you freely. Minyu's hand tightened on the gun. Jungkook continued, voice low and surgical. And now even your men obey money, not loyalty. Several guards exchanged glances. You are alone, Jungkook said. Minyu's smile cracked. I have him. You have borrowed fear. Minyu struck Jimin across the face with the gun. Jimin gasped. Jungkook's control nearly broke. Stop. There he is, Minyu hissed, my beautiful violent boy. Taehyung moved suddenly. Not toward Minyu. Toward a suspended cargo chain release lever. He yanked it. Massive steel chains dropped from the ceiling. One smashed the mezzanine railing. Minyu lost footing. Jimin twisted free. Gun fired wild. Jungkook launched upward using stacked crates like stairs and hit Minyu mid-fall. Both men crashed to the warehouse floor below. The gun skidded away. Minyu rose first, knife appearing from nowhere. He slashed Jungkook across the ribs. Jungkook grunted, grabbed Minyu's wrist and headbutted him brutally. They fought in close quarters, knife, fists, blood, hatred. Jimin ran down the stairs. Taehyung limped after him. Minyu stabbed again. Jungkook caught the blade in his palm. Blood poured. Then Jungkook drove the knife backward into Minyu's own shoulder. Minyu screamed. Jungkook pinned him to the concrete. Breathing hard, face feral. One more strike would kill him. Do it, Minyu spat blood. You've always been mine when angry. Jungkook raised the knife. Jimin reached him first. He grabbed Jungkook's wrist with both hands. No, he deserves. No, he took everything. And if you kill him, he takes the rest too. Jungkook shook violently. I don't know how to stop. Jimin stepped closer, tears mixing with rainwater tracked in from outside. Then let me help. The knife clattered from Jungkook's hand. He collapsed forward against Jimin's shoulder, shaking with rage and grief. Police sirens wailed outside, real this time, close and many. Taehyung picked up the fallen gun and pointed it at Minyu. Should I be mature? No, Minyu coughed, smiling through blood. You never were. Taehyung considered. then lowered the guns. I'll try something new. Officers stormed the warehouse moments later. Shouts, orders, hands raised. Minyu was dragged away screaming threats and promises. Jungkook remained on his knees. Jimin still holding him upright. Taehyung stood nearby, suddenly looking more tired than dangerous. As dawn's first grey light crept through broken skylights, Jungkook lifted his face to Jimin. Bruised, wet human. I came back. Jimin touched the cut on his cheek. You're late. Then he kissed him. Morning entered the broken warehouse gently, as if afraid to disturb what the night had shattered. Police lights still flashed beyond the loading doors. Rain had softened into a silver mist. Officers moved in the background, taking statements, sealing evidence, carrying away weapons and men who once believed themselves untouchable. But near the center of the warehouse, time seemed to slow around three people who had survived each other. Jimin's kiss had not been dramatic. It had been warm, trembling, and real. The kind of kiss that did not erase pain, but promised pain would no longer be carried alone. When he pulled back, Jungkook looked stunned in a way violence had never managed to produce. You kissed me after all this? Jungkook asked hoarsely. Jimin wiped blood from the corner of his mouth with his thumb. Don't get arrogant, you still owe me years of explanations. A weak laugh escaped Jungkook before turning into something close to tears. I can do that. You'll do more than that. Anything. Jimin's eyes sharpened. Therapy. Jungkook blinked. Taehyung, leaning against a crate while paramedics wrapped his side, burst into laughter so sudden he had to clutch the bandage. Oh, I like him, he said. Jungkook glared. No one asked you. Therapy, Taehyung repeated with delight. What a terrifying woman he is. I'm not a woman. Spiritually in this moment you are. Jimin pointed at Taehyung. You too. Taehyung's smile faded instantly. Unnecessary. Extremely necessary. I'd rather be shot again. You were. I'd rather be shot twice. Even Jungkook smiled at that. Then footsteps approached. Their mother stood nearby, wrapped in a blanket offered by medics, silver hair still damp, eyes watching all three of them with a softness sharpened by years lost. My sons, she said quietly. The brothers straightened at once. It was strange and moving to watch men, capable of terrifying rooms, become children in a single breath. She looked at Taehyung first. You survived angry. He lowered his gaze, barely. She touched his cheek, then survive healing too. His throat moved but no words came. She turned to Jungkook. And you. He could not meet her eyes. I failed everyone. She stepped closer. No, she said firmly. You were young, frightened and used. Those are wounds, not identity. Tears finally slipped down his face without resistance. She held him. Then with her free hand, she reached for Taehyung too. After a long hesitation, he stepped in. The embrace was awkward, broken, incomplete. It was also the first real beginning any of them had ever had. Jimin quietly looked away to give them privacy. Don't drift too far, their mother said. He turned. She smiled knowingly. Your family now, unfortunately for you. Jimin laughed through tears. That sounds like a threat. It is. Weeks later, the city looked different in daylight. Not kinder. Just possible. Minyu's arrest opened investigations that reached judges, executives, police officials, and men who had built clean reputations on dirty foundations. News channels called it a scandal. Commentators called it historic. Jimin called it overdue. Taehyung testified first. To everyone's surprise, he did it elegantly. Then he disappeared for 3 days and returned with groceries, claiming emotional vulnerability made him hungry. Jungkook began therapy exactly as promised. He hated the first session. He hated the second less. By the 5th, he came home quiet instead of furious. Sometimes healing was invisible until you noticed what no longer broke. Jimin moved slowly into Jungkook's apartment, though neither of them used that phrase aloud. First a toothbrush, then books, then sweaters, then the habit of reaching for each other in sleep. They argued often. About dishes, about emotional repression, about Jungkook trying to solve every inconvenience by lifting heavy furniture, about Jimin pretending he was not worried when he clearly was. But their fights ended differently than before. No doors slammed. No disappearances. No silence used as punishment. They stayed. One evening, months after the fire, they stood on the same rooftop where everything had cracked open. The city glowed beneath them, wind moved gently through the night. Jungkook leaned on the railing beside Jimin. "I still think about who I was," he admitted. "You should. That's not comforting. I'm not finished." Jimin turned to him. "You should think about who you were so you can see how far you've come." Jungkook looked at him for a long moment. "How did one sentence ruin me that night?" Jimin smiled. "Which sentence?" "Don't pretend you were never lonely too." Jimin laughed softly, "Because it was true." "No," Jungkook stepped closer, "because it was you." The moonlight caught in his eyes, no longer hard, no longer empty. Jimin touched his face. "And now?" Jungkook kissed his palm. "Now I'm still healing," he said, "but I'm not lonely." Below them, the city moved endlessly forward. Above them, the night opened wide and clear. And for the first time in their lives, neither of them was afraid of what came next.